The Netherlands' famous cycle routes, waterways and all roads lead to the TT Circuit Assen for the 33rd staging of the Pirelli Dutch Round. A fortnight on from our last action, the Motul FIM Superbike World Championship has trucked 2,600 kilometres northeast across from Portugal, passing 4 borders for round 3 of the 2025 campaign. This season, Assen celebrates the 100th anniversary of the first Dutch TT, held on the town's then brick-paved roads. A purpose-built street circuit was introduced 30 years later, and the modern-day venue was only fully closed to the public in 1992, when World SBK's Dutch Round was inaugurated. Keeping its original high-speed characteristics, short straights and high-speed corners, Assen is a tough place to overtake. The heaviest braking zone here is the 190-metre stopping distance into turn 1. That's over a third of the start-finish straight. It's similarly tough to pass at Steckenwald, turn 8. The 90-degree right-hander just 10 metres wide and only just over 2 seconds on the brake there. So the best place to watch from is the iconic floating Geert Timmer stand built 20 years ago at the final chicane. Mixed weather conditions in 2 of the 3 races last season, so most of our action hotspots come from the dry race 2, won by Toprak Razgatlioglu over Alvaro Bautista with that pass at turn 16 with 6 laps to go. Bautista holds World SBK's longest standing lap record here from the 2022 Superpole race. Three wins apiece for Nicolo Bulliger, a hat-trick at the Australian round, and Toprak Razgatlioglu, unbeaten at the Portuguese round last time out. The top 2 in last year's World Championship are again the series leaders in 2025, and they've locked out the top 2 places in 4 of the 6 races thus far. But now we arrive in Assen, where those 2 men have only 1 win between them. Toprak's race 2 victory here a year ago, the first in his 16 starts at this venue. Is there a chance for Alvaro Bautista to at least bring himself back into the lead battle at a circuit where he's been a 7 times winner and where he last led the championship 12 months ago? Steve English alongside me. Thus far, the 2025 season has been a head-to-head between last year's top 2, but the balance of power has already been very different just from Phillip Island to Portimao.
Phillip Island to Portimao and now to Assen as well, and it's going to be a really interesting race here over the course of 21 laps around the fast-flowing Dutch circuit of Assen. This is a place where the rider can make a bit of a difference. This is the place where you can overtake, but it's also an area of the track where if you get into a battle, you can lose ground with the group around you. You've got to be tactical, you've got to be smart, you've got to be fast, and that's what makes Assen such a challenge.
6 different podium finishers at the opening 2 rounds are the top 6 in the championship standings. Nicolo Bulliger leads the way, and despite suffering 3 defeats at the Portuguese round, he opens his gap from 26 points over Alvaro Bautista, leaving Phillip Island, to 29 over Toprak Razgatlioglu after Portimao. A second non-score for Bautista means he trails. The gap to his teammate, who's beaten him in every race so far, is already up at 52 points. Danilo Petrucci is the top independent and a point ahead of Bautista for 3rd overall. Meanwhile, Andrea Locatelli is one of only 3 riders to have scored points in every race, and his Portimao podium moved him up to 5th overall ahead of Iannone and Redding, who both struggled a fortnight ago. But now it's 3 wins apiece for Bulliger and Razgatlioglu, the top 2 from last year, again leading the way. Nicolo Bulliger with 3 second places in Portimao. He still hasn't won at that venue, but really came as close as possible without getting a victory over the line. Less than 0.2 of a second behind in all 3 races, and he actually led more laps than Toprak over the course of the weekend. So Bulliger's certainly proving a match for the reigning champion this year. Yeah,
Bulliger has made a big step forward this year, 1st or 2nd in every race so far this campaign, and he just looks so impressive. But he didn't look cool, calm and collected during the course of the Superpole session. You can see here he catches traffic from Bassani and Razgatlioglu. Both of those were given a penalty for slow riding in Superpole and impeding Bulliger. But the biggest factor in it was Bulliger didn't collect his thoughts after that. He wasn't able to improve his time. Look at the anger and the frustration for him. You can't ride fast if you got that red mist.
Ultimately, though, his big gestures of frustration probably contribute to that being investigated to such an extent. 2 riders directly behind him dropping 3 places, and Bulliger had out-qualified Razgatlioglu over the course of that session anyway.
And you can see the sarcasm there from Bulliger towards Bassani, and that's in the end of the session in the practice start area. There's the frustration for him. It's actually very reminiscent of what we saw here a few years ago with Chaz Davis and Jonathan Ray during the course of a Superpole session. And for Toprak, he gets the penalty. For Pisani, he gets the penalty. But for Bulaga, still up there in the front row of the grid.
Toprak Razgatlioglu unbeaten at the Portuguese round for the second time in 2 visits with BMW. Climbs from 8th to 2nd overall in the championship. Moved ahead of Carl Fogarty in the all-time winners list with his 60th victory last time out, surpassing 20 wins for BMW, and took the 7th hat-trick of his career. But only pulled back the 13 points at round 2, and not every venue is going to be Portimao. Toprak still has plenty of work to do.
Yeah, exactly. And for Razgatlioglu, we're able to see once again how that BMW fares.
Seven years on from brother Alex's first pole at the same venue here in Assen, Sam Lowes takes his first pole position in World SBK. The only rider to beat either Nicolo Bulaga or Toprak Razgatlioglu in Superpole this season so far. Bulaga and Razgatlioglu have still not qualified off the front row in 2025. But a 3-place grid penalty for Toprak means he will start from P6 here. Axel Bassani qualified on the front 2 rows of the grid for the first time since Moss 2023, but is also penalised in the same incident. So Alvaro Bautista, after qualifying P9 last time out, starts on the front row here. Andrea Locatelli is top Yamaha. Michael van der Mark's worst grid position in 2025, and Scott Redding down on the 6th row. But an all Ducati front row this afternoon, and it's Sam Lowes who joins the Aruba bikes in podium contention off the line.
A really interesting Superpole session saw Sam Lowes take that first career pole. Ducati 1, 2, 3, the 2 Aruba bikes, 2nd and 3rd on the grid. The penalties for Bassani and most importantly for Toprak Razgatlioglu drop them further down the field. It's going to be a really interesting 21-lap race around here. But for all of the riders, they know Bulaga is the rider to chase. He's got the pace, he's got the consistency, and we'll see if he's able to get himself to the front.
Saw last time out, it didn't take Toprak Razgatlioglu very long to dispatch his way through the field when he was slow off the line in Portimao. Should be the case here that he's right with Bulaga in the very early stages.
Yeah, for Toprak, he's going to give himself the chance to be in those top 3 spots in the opening lap. Going with Bulaga, that's the goal. But we'll see how the race plays out. If Bulaga's able to get that little bit of a break away from the field, he has the speed to stay out in front.
A couple of gift positions for Alvaro Bautista with those penalties. This is a real opportunity for him to visit to Assen.
Yeah, exactly. Qualified 5th on the grid, and then those penalties have put him up to the front row of the grid. We know the importance of qualifying for Alvaro Bautista. He's up in the front row of the grid. He's got a real chance now to be able to challenge for a race win. 11
podiums in 11 starts here with Ducati for Alvaro Bautista. Just 1 defeat in 2022 and 2 last year. Was the top scorer at the 2024 Dutch round, finished within a second of Toprak in race 1 and race 2, victorious in the Superpole race. So certainly the best measurement so far of just how much ground Bautista still has to recover as he bids to end a 12-race winless run. For Alvaro Bautista, great circuit for him in the past, but the opening 2 rounds of the season, it's been a few tenths of a second per lap to try and find against Bulaga and Razgatlioglu.
Yeah, exactly. Bulaga's had the margin and the edge over his teammate, but now we're into a race where they're starting side by side, and Bautista, with the softer tyres, it should play into his strength a little bit more.
So we've got an all Ducati front row in the grid for race 1, albeit not in the Superpole results. Sam Lowes unchanged, starting from pole position. Best finish of 2024 was here in Assen. It was a 6th place. He's already made the top 6 3 times in just the first 6 races of 2025. Fell from 4th place in race 1 of the Portuguese round, so a missed opportunity there, but only a point behind Scott Redding thus far. That shows what a strong start it has been for Lowes.
Yeah, nice to see the sticker there of Ty Woodman on the bike as well. Everyone hoping that Ty's able to have a quick recovery, but Sam's performance in the Superpole session really was impressive, and what probably set the scene for it as well for Lowes was He wasn't faster in any individual sector than the other riders around him, but he's been able to get that pole position.
And fittingly, here in Assen, both of the brothers go well here. Alex has had great results as well as that maiden pole.
Yeah, this was a massive moment for Alex's BSB career. First pole position here as well in World SBK. Sam had his first Super Sport race victory here too back in 2013, and now his first pole position.
Alongside Sam Lowes on the front row of the grid, it's the two Aruba bikes of Nicolo Bulliger and Alvaro Bautista. Bulliger, the only man to have made all 6 podiums in 2025, 3 wins in Phillip Island and 3 seconds behind Toprak in Portimao. Leads the championship by 29 points, as we've said. But Assen's going to be a real litmus test because this was his lowest scoring round of 2024. Scored just 22, an 11th, a 2nd and an 8th. If he matches Toprak here, then there's no reason why he can't do it for the rest of the season. Alvaro Bautista completes the front row of the grid, winner in half the races he started here in Assen. He took one of the 3 2019 hat-tricks he managed here, ended a run of 6 Dutch rounds without a win for Ducati, another hat-trick in 2023. Here he makes his 150th start for the Bologna manufacturer, only the 8th rider to reach that milestone.
Yeah, and for Bautista, there's a real chance to be able to try and bring the fight to his teammate. If he wants to be considered a championship challenger, he has to beat his teammate. This is a good chance.
Sam Lowes with a mammoth surprise in Superpole this morning. Not only his first pole, but also his first front row start in his 14th World SBK round, beating his previous best of P4 at the 2024 Dutch round. Sam Lowes also had 4 front row starts here in Moto2. This is a venue he really enjoys.
Yeah, it really is. And just when you break down what we saw in the Superpole session, for Bulliger, he was a bit faster in parts of the track. The run between the end of the lap and down in towards turn 2, he's faster than Lowes. But from that point onwards until the middle of the lap, Sam has got an advantage on him. So we'll see if that translates into the race. Andrea
Locatelli was the 3rd highest scorer in Portimao last time out with 34 points. His best tally in almost 2 years since the 2023 Dutch round. 3 top 5 finishes, including a surprise podium in race 1 against a backdrop of struggles for Yamaha. Locatelli is their only representative to have scored in the Manufacturers' Championship and the only Yamaha in the top 10 of the riders' standings. Danilo Petrucci sits 3rd in the championship. Consistency for him hasn't been out of the top 6 in 2025. Did well to keep that run going after a gear selection problem off the line in race 2 in Portimao. Then felt rather beaten up by Andrea Iannone at the restart. So only 1 podium so far from the Superpole race in Phillip Island.
Yeah, Phillip Island and Assen quite similar in their nature, and that's also why we've got the Ducatis so strong. When the Superpole session, we had 4 Ducatis inside the top 6, as it'll be on the grid for those inside the top 5 positions after the penalties. But it does show just how strong that bike is, and Petrucci able to take advantage of it.
Completing that second row of the grid will be Toprak Razgatlioglu, race winner here last season, the first of his 13 race unbeaten run, and he might now need something similar to that mid-season spurt, because remember, he arrived in Europe 42 points down on Bulliger following 2 non-scores in Phillip Island, but his narrow victories last time out have only proven that Toprak's margin of comfort is a whole lot less this year.
Yeah, and the penalty for Toprak is a big penalty there. Drops him from that front row of the grid down to P6. And given what we've seen from it so far, you want to see a little bit more. You want to get the chance to talk Toprak about it as well. It looks like a harsh penalty, but for Razgatlioglu, we'll have to wait and see. Liam, you're down on the grid.
Yeah, down here on the grid, starting from the front row, or from row number 3, the front of it, is Axel Bassani. Axel, it's been a positive weekend for you so far. Can you just tell us what's improved on the bike and what's improved on yourself and what you're looking for race number 1?
No, honestly, I only change a little bit my mind. I accept what I have. I'm trying to use it at 100%, and the bike is working really good. The team is doing a really good job, and now we have the race and we will see.
And do you think you can maybe battle for the top 5 in the race?
Everything is possible. We'll see.
Best of luck, Axel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Axel Bassani there will be starting 7th position after his demotion. 18 points from the Australian and Portuguese rounds last year for Axel Bassani on the Kawasaki. He's on 30 points from the same 2 venues this year, so clearly benefiting from new motor machinery. Axel Bassani up in 9th in the standings. 5 top 10 finishes in 6 races. His best yet, a 7th place in race 2 in Portimao. This is Remy Gardner, secured his lone World SBK podium to date here last year, the 2024 Dutch rounds. His best so far with a 35-point score, in need of a big weekend here in 2025. He's got off to a rough start with 3 retirements, 2 10th places in Superpole races where he's failed to score, and has just the 6 points on the board, Remy Gardner. Completing the third row of the grid will be Alex Lowes. Saw his run of 9 consecutive scoring rides brought to an end in Portimao, qualified at the back of the grid following a Superpole crash. Looking to bounce back this weekend. Track specialist in Assen, where he recorded his first career podium in 2014, was third in the Superpole race here last season.
We didn't get to see the best from Alex in the Portimao round after a crash in the Superpole session, but he's had good pace in Phillip Island and into Portimao this weekend, though. That third row of the grid, he needs to make progress in the opening lap.
Andrea Iannone was anonymous in Portimao, much like last year when he scored 10 points at the Portuguese round. This time he scored 9. Qualified down the order, made no progress in the Superpole race, which ended his run of consecutive scoring. Then a penalty for a jump start ended his hopes of competing in race 2. So doesn't yet look as though Iannone's ironed out his inconsistency, though this weekend will give us a bit of a bigger sample size. Dominic Egerter, so far this season, has been finishing around the likes of Vierke and Bassani, so top 10 finishes are the target. Got 2 of them on the board in Portimao. Hasn't been beaten by his teammates so far this season, sits 17 points ahead of him. He's getting his job done.
If he's able to beat Remy around here as well, that bodes very well for Domi. This is one of Remy's best tracks. Domi's been able to put in a decent performance there in the 4th row of the grid. The super concession upgrades for Yamaha have really helped across the board for all the riders in that manufacturer.
Jari Montell, a solid start for him in World SBK. 3 top 10 finishes in 6 races so far, but he's crashed out of 2 of the other 3, so he'll be looking for a clean weekend. Doesn't have a good record at the TT circuit in Supersport, only scored 9 points in a Dutch round that was detrimental to his 2024 title hopes. This one will be a test for him.
Yeah, I think for Jari from that 4th row of the grid, it's about trying to make sure you stay out of trouble. You're able to come away with some decent points paying finishes.
So that completes the 4th row of the grid. Row number 5 sees Michael van der Mark, Ika Lekwona and Taz McKenzie. All eyes, of course, on Michael van der Mark, not least after he was 5th best scorer at the Portuguese round with 24 points. Big step compared to a disappointing Australian round. He netted just 2 points in Phillip Island. He makes a record 125th start for BMW here. Thus far, Toprak Razgatlioglu, the only ever BMW to have made the podium at the Dutch round. But van der Mark has managed 7 rostrum finishes in Assen. This is his best venue, where he secured the first podium of his career in 2015, where, of course, he's adored by the local crowd. Ika Lekwona starts in P14, back at the venue where he notched his first career podium at the 2022 Dutch round. Hasn't scored in Assen since, crashed out twice in 2023, withdrawn after FP3 last year due to a knee injury, returned from his latest spell on the sidelines to score points in all 3 races of the Portuguese round a fortnight ago.
Yeah, 2 top 10 finishes as well last time out. So for him, it's a decent return to form for Portimao, and top hand on the grid here.
Taz McKenzie completes that 5th row. The Dutch round was his only scoring weekend of the 2024 season. Picked up points in 2 of the 3 races for a total of 7. 2 points already on the board, arriving in Assen this year for 14th place in race 1 of the Portuguese round. Beat Rabat and Vickers in that one.
Yeah, really good effort from Taz to qualify up there in the 5th row of the grid, and less than 10th of a second off the HRC bikes. They've gone their own direction with the bike, and it seems to be helping Taz.
Scott Redding, only 1 point from the Portuguese round. His worst score since Barcelona 2023. Was unlucky with a race 1 crash, but 2 15th place finishes on Sunday in Portimao proved the pace just wasn't there. He'll be hoping for a reset in the remainder of this Assen weekend. Has been on the podium here in Moto2, MotoGP, BSB and the 2021 Dutch round in World SBK.
15th on the grid in Portimao, and that was roughly where his pace was, so he needs to make that step forward on that Bonovo bike.
17th on the grid, Garrett Gerloff, already on half the score that Pacetti managed in the whole of last season. 11 points with 3 scoring rides in the last 4 races, breaking into the top 10. The next target failed to do that on the more competitive BMW package here in Assen last year. This is Xavi Vierke, posted Honda's best result of the season so far with 5th in race 1 of the Portuguese round last time out. Also scored in the Superpole race, unlike in Australia, and he crashed out of 6th in race 2. So after 3 12th places in Phillip Island, he was much more at the races in Portimao. Let's see how he now gets on in Assen, where he has struggled in his 3 previous visits.
Yeah, and what we've been able to see from him this weekend was a tough start to the weekend. Didn't get any mileage in free practice 1, but immediately able to get down to the same sort of speed as his teammate Iker Lekwona.
Bahatin Sofoglu has acquitted himself well in his rookie season thus far. 2 13th places at the Portuguese round, his best results to date. Close to the tail of Gerloff's Kawasaki throughout the weekend in Portimao, up 7 points to 1 against his experienced teammate Tito Rabat. A solid start for him. Rabat, Vickers, O'Halloran and Zaidi complete your field. Liam, it's down to you on the grids.
Yeah, standing here on the pole position alongside Sam Lowes. He's now starting to get ready. Gorka Segura, we just had a second go, but he's giving Sam... Of course, it's a great moment for the team, Gorka. Thank you so much for joining us. Crew chief to Sam Lowes, how is he feeling ahead of this one, and how is the whole team feeling ahead of race number 1?
Well, first of all, this result arrived very early. We know the potential from Sam. We know we are doing well the work inside the box. We changed the team a little bit from last year. I try to use my experience from HRC, giving him the best as possible with the tires, with the setting in each circuit. And yeah, just Sam is a really fast guy. He just needs to keep simple, working like we are doing. And yeah, nothing else. It's just a consequence of good work, but now we need to continue. Pole position is nothing, so we need to keep it working to achieve the results we want.
And have you told Sam a game plan for the race?
Well, we are going to use the hard front tire. I know maybe we are only the only ones that are going to use it. We use it in the warm-up. Apparently it worked well for Sam. When yesterday with the soft one, we make a long run and have a little bit of drop the last 6 laps. So, well, we plan to stay at the beginning, keep the pace when the others have more grip with the front tire. Then at the end, if we have something more from the front, try to be there, top 5. So,
thank you very much, all the best.
Welcome, thank you.
Across the front row of the grid then, we're moments away from getting underway. 21 laps here in Assen. Alvaro Bautista, Nicolo Bulliger and Sam Lowes, your all Ducati front row. The last 6 wins of 2024 and the first 6 of 2020.